The hard truth about Ruben Amorim. And a big call that's needed by Ineos in the coming days, the coming weeks. I want your views. I want your opinions. I want to know what you think and feel. Make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace, to the United Stand. If you haven't done so already, really important to us here that you get that done. And also there's a bell notification button. When the next to the subscribe button, just to the left of it on your desktop is a bell button. Click on that so you have notifications turned on. Good evening to everybody. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all good. I hope that you're all doing well today. And I had my dinner just 15 to 20 minutes ago, and it is repeating upon me. It's repeating upon me. So excuse me. No, I'm not Mark. It's Terry. How you doing? Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to each and every single one of you. And it's good to see you all here. Levy out. Levy's gone. I've been told by a very reliable source that Levy was forced out. He didn't go willingly. But hello, Katie. Hope you're well. Thank you for loving the shows. What is tonight's stream all about? The hard truth about Ruben Amorim and his tenure at United. Well, look, 10 months into his job, we hit an international break, and often in the international breaks is a time for reflection, a time for debate, a time to view what we think is going on. The good, the bad, and the ugly, essentially. Tactical struggles, brilliant games that have been won. What do we think of Ruben Amorim? How should we move forward? Should he stay? Should he go? How do you feel about the next few games? Looking at Bayer Leverkusen as an example, and there's an irony in this. There's an irony in this around how quickly they moved on from their manager. There's some that will say it was a little harsh. They sold a lot of good players. They've given him 2 games. They're stating that he wasn't getting on very well with anyone at the club, the team, the coaching staff, the hierarchy, and they felt that things would only get worse. So therefore, they nipped it in the bud. They moved him on quickly. And that's led to a lot of people saying, well, that's how big clubs should be run. Man United should do that, and we should cut ties with Ruben Amorim today. And I get where they're coming from. I disagree, but I understand where they are coming from. And that is what we are discussing tonight. So from my view and from my opinion, I want to make sure I say this in the correct way. How have the first 10 months gone? Let's say it bluntly. The first 10 months under Ruben Amorim have been painful. We have suffered. Maybe the worst 10 months in my life as a Manchester United fan for multiple reasons. The results, yes, horrendous. 15th in the league, no back-to-back league victories. You have rivals every day on our neck, kicking off, starting fights. We've got the mainstream media that are looking to trip us up and hurt us every single step of the way. It's horrible. It's genuinely horrible. It's been horrible. And I've barely enjoyed a minute. Are the tactics the problem? Some will say yes, some will say no. My chair feels very low tonight. Has it dropped down? Let me just check my chair a second. That's where it's meant to be. I don't know why it looks so low on the camera tonight, but I do. I look like I'm down here. I'm normally up here. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I've got to move my camera. Maybe I've got to get a bit closer. That's what it is. I just feel like I look really short. So I look at it and I think to myself, it hasn't been great. It hasn't been great at all. Is it the system? We're going to talk about that in a minute. There's been some brilliant moments. Beating City away from home was amazing. 4-0 against Everton. Some of those Europa League games, going to Spain and beating Bilbao. The second leg against Lyon. I mean, to win it, I wouldn't. Everything that went wrong in that game, I would do it all over again to win like that. As an example, some brilliant moments, and maybe I cherish them a little more because there were so few of them last year. So we look at that, but I am at a crossroad with Ruben. And no, that's not right. Let me rephrase that. I'm not at a crossroad with him. I am at a place where I'm looking at the ownership who should be at a crossroad with the club should be at a crossroad with Ruben. My personal belief is this. My personal belief is thus. Ruben can take us to the top. Ruben can get us over the line if we build the squad and the first 11 that his system requires. I understand why people don't like Ruben Amorim. He only plays one way, Terry. There isn't enough adaptation. He will not adapt to the players in the short term. He only wants to play one way. I want to see him change and evolve. I don't like a manager like this. It doesn't work unless you have the right squad. There is so much validity in that. The caveat for me, or the pushback from me, is we had 5, 6, 7 managers previous that would adapt to the players in the short term. Is going down that same road again going to yield success? Or should we pursue a path, although it may seem dark, although we can't see the end destination, although we don't know whether it's going to take us to where we want to be, should we take a new path and see what happens? Ineos have got to make a decision, though. Because if we stick with Ruben, I think we've got to go the whole way. The whole caboodle. The full Monty. We must. If we're going to stick with him, and when I say we, I mean the club, Ineos, Sir Jim, Parada, they've got to keep going. At the very least, with the squad that he needs. If we have to sack him, the manager that comes in, there has to be an overlap. There has to be a connection. There has to be a coach that looks at the profiles we're buying, the way we're trying to play, and says, I can get a tune out of that, and I agree with your vision. We have to continue in the same direction, whatever we do. I think we're almost at the point of no return. There is probably still enough time now to go, actually, let's stop. Let's get rid of Ruben. Let's drop the 3 at the back. Let's reassess. Let's bring somebody else in that plays 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. We probably still have more players suited to that than another system. And let's slightly deviate the plan. Slightly. Not a U-turn. Not a complete 180, but a slight deviation. But it's got to come soon. You do another 6 months of Ruben, a January window where you buy more players for him. If we end up moving on a Kobbie Mainoo because he doesn't work in this system, you're then at a point where you have to see it through to fruition. Otherwise, you just add towards building another Frankenstein, incomplete, disjointed squad. And I think that the hard truth here, the hard and harsh truth about Ruben Amorim is that I think we now know that he needs a certain group of players to be able to win, a certain type of player, certain profile of player. He needs more athleticism in his team. We need more clinical edge in the side as well. And even then, we don't know whether it's going to work. We need to build it first. The hard truth is I don't think we're going to get complete. The only way we get complete answers on Ruben is to fully build his squad. That's it. I think we can win. You know, we could beat City and win our first ever 2 games on the bounce in the league under him. That's not going to give us full answers. It's going to take a couple of years for us to really know whether this is the right thing or not. What I don't necessarily want to, and this is why I'd like there to be a definitive decision made. I'd love Ineos to make a statement, which is we are backing this manager indefinitely. And if you understand what I mean by indefinite, it doesn't mean forever, but just even bad runs of form. We're not just going to knee-jerk and sack him. I almost feel like they need to make a statement of that level or get rid of him. Because I think something that's going to hurt us is every time there's a setback, the constant, is he going to go? Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to stay? The media speculation, the players thinking, oh, could we force him out here? Because us 5 or 6 are not enjoying this and we know we're on the chopping block. Because there'll be players that do this, by the way. If the manager's job and a potential deviation of direction is on the cards, players that are maybe not starting, players that would prefer a 4-3-3 now might think we could save ourselves and stay at Man United if we're able to push him out and get somebody else new. I feel like a decision must be made. The only thing I am married to is that we don't completely change our direction of travel. I think that for me would be the biggest hindrance to this club. Not sticking with Amorim and or changing manager. I don't think that's the biggest problem. Changing our plan of action, the profiles of players we're trying to sign, the brand of, because your brand of football isn't just dictated by the formation. Can there be adaptations? I'm going to tell you about one that came out in the last game that Ruben put into play that I want to see more of. But let's do some of your super chats here. This here comes from DJ Quizby that says, why are we always getting United? Why are we all getting on United's back? City have won one of their three, and we hear nothing about City or Pep. Look, DJ, that's because Man United are the biggest team in England. That's because we're one of the biggest teams in the world. And that is because even if only 20% of our fan base is active and angry and online, that's more than the whole City fan base put together. No disrespect to Man City. It's just the cold, hard truth of the matter. So there is far more mileage in talking about Man United's problems than there is City's. Because what happens when you're going through problems, I actually think less of your fans interact with what's going on. But the minority that do are quite small. But every club will have 20% of its fan base. It's a very loud minority when they're doing badly. But the bigger your club, the bigger that group is, because it's a percentage. There's no mileage in focusing on City because no one cares enough. There isn't enough people to click on the articles, watch the videos, watch the TV shows. How many times does TalkSport go with City as their lead story on a radio show? Maybe when they win the league. Maybe when they sign a player, potentially, but often not. If they're found guilty or innocent of the 115. But they're not going to lead with City struggling as the main story too regularly because not enough people will listen. People will turn on TalkSport. Go, what are they talking about? City. I'll come back later. If it's Man United, even though it's a smaller percentage of our fans that are active, rivals go, oh, here we go. Let's listen to United. People don't care about City as much. Evan here says, do you feel Amorim could get us back to the top? Evan, I think he could. I think Amorim can. But he needs the right players. He needs better players. I heard people defending Onana this week. 3 at the back, zonal marking. It's killing our keepers. What, the same keeper that was letting in goals for fun, making mistakes for fun, barely catching crosses from corners for fun in a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3 with a different manager, with zonal marking, man-to-man marking, hybrid marking. We rewrite history all the time. And look at the statistics. And as always, the mainstream media is always behind the curve. They always have been. They always will be. I was talking about these stats about 2 to 3 weeks ago. I want to point these out to you. This season in the Premier League, highest XG, Manchester United. Most touches in an opponent's box, Manchester United. Most shots, Manchester United. Most shots in the box, Manchester United. Most shots on target, second place, Manchester United. Conversion rate, 15th at 6.9%. Ruben Amorim's system in the opening 3 games, and people will say, Terry, it's not enough games. Too small a sample size. It's a fair challenge. You think about Arsenal. They've gone away to Man United and away to Liverpool in their opening 3 games. So their XG is probably going to be a little bit lower. Their touches in the opponent's box is going to be lower than Man United because they played away at 2 grounds that they historically don't do too well in. But Man United have played a relegation candidate, a solid mid-table team, and a title contender. We have played a team from all 3 main sections of the league. Now, the next 2 games for Man United are both against title contenders or supposed title contenders in Manchester City and Chelsea. So if we are able, so if you look at it on an average basis, as an example, 99 touches in an opponent's box, you divide that by the 3 games, that's around 33 per match. That's on average, I think on average, about 7 or 8 per game higher than last season, which is a decent amount. If we're able to maintain that in these next 2 games, that'd be a massive positive. If those numbers drop significantly, and I expect them to drop, by the way, at home, away against City. I don't expect them to get 33 touches in City's box away from home would be absolutely massive. I don't know how many teams have even done that in the last couple season when they've been struggling, but there we go. You've got to look at those numbers too. If we can maintain those somewhat consistent, keep those numbers consistent, the average of all those numbers consistent throughout the course of the next 2 games, maybe people's mindset will change about Ruben Amorim. But he has got to make changes, like the change we all saw, but maybe ignored, that came in the Burnley game. We all know there's a big hole in our midfield when we attack and we get caught in possession. And yes, having more athletic midfielders will help cover it. But there is a simpler solution. And Ruben implemented it against Burnley, but let's see whether he does it against better teams. It was Luke Shaw one side and Lenny Euro the other. But they should be pushing up. One of them should push up into a midfield, depending on what side of the pitch the play's on. And there was a good 4 or 5 times in that first half where the midfield was going to get bypassed, but Luke Shaw was there to win the ball. Now, when you watch Sporting Lisbon play, that was done organically by his centre-backs. Our centre-backs stay too deep. Probably not the midfield hole that's the issue. It may actually be that one of the centre-backs isn't stepping up because you're very vulnerable in that position as a centre-back. There's a lot more running that needs to be done by a centre-back in those roles. And that may be another one of these scenarios where it's about developing and buying the right talent to make the system work. It doesn't mean I don't think the system has flaws. I think the flaw in the system, because they all have them, is I don't think we have the personnel for it yet. And it's whether or not the club is going to fully back him and let it work. But if you built him a really good squad, could he get us to the top? Yes. Both Rangnick and Amorim have essentially said we needed open heart surgery, which is neither easy or pain-free with a long recovery. I think the error has been that we have been looking for a quick fix. Emily Derry, you have probably said everything that in the last 16 minutes, you've just repeated it in a very concise and fantastic super chat, Emily. That may be the most well-articulated, solid, and most poignant opinion regarding the club. Now, some will say, Terry, but we've had open heart surgery since Rangnick left. It was bodged. We didn't have open heart. Well, we did, but we bodged it. We brought in a manager who had a very set and distinct style of play. When you look at the clubs that he'd coached and managed at, where he got trained, we brought him in and we didn't force him, because it should be forceful, to implement it. But we were buying the players for it. You break it down, it's crazy. Why have you hired a plumber who's going to replumb my house? You bought all the equipment. I bought all the plumbing materials needed. What's he going to do on Monday? Oh, he's going to start building a wall. It's just stupid, right? And we bodged it. So we still need open heart surgery. Too many Man United fans think it was going to be a quick fix. I've even been taken aback by how bad a situation that we're in. And I think what Ruben has done by sticking to a system and said, no, we're sticking to it. And I think it's unearthed just how bad we are. I think if you get rid of Ruben tomorrow, go 4-2-3-1, plug some holes, paper over the cracks, things will look all right for it. It's a bit like a house with subsidence. If you use a bit of polyfiller on the walls, put some wallpaper up, paint the skirting boards, new carpet, new TV, bit of Febreze and a bit of air freshener, for a period of time, the house will look nicely decorated. But give it 6 months, give it a year, when the subsidence moves the building further, the cracks will be back, the dust will be back, the house will look like crap again. And it's just going to continually get worse. You keep papering over those cracks, but eventually your walls are going to fall down if the subsidence is that bad. Man United have subsidence. And it's deeper rooted issues that will only ever be carved out the club by having a set style of play and a culture that the players must adhere to. And as people like myself have said, this could take 3 or 4 years to fix. We could go in a slightly new direction. Still going to take 2 or 3 years to fix this. The only way you will see a spike improvement is adapting to what these players are best at doing now as a collective. Right, we've assessed it, and they'd be best in a 4-3-3. But we're going to keep buying players that are more suited to a 3-4-3. But what we're going to do for 2 years is keep them in 4-3-3. And then as soon as you start trying to change it, lots of players start downing tools, going, no, because I don't want to be exposed. I want to stay. And then it all falls down again. You're spot on, Emily. This here from Nathi says, "Oh, I love this I love TTs. Not that you dirty minds. I mean Terry's Thursdays." Big up yourself, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you. Apologies if this has been asked and diverts the topic. What's happened with the Grimsby match fixing? Have United decided yet? Well, it wasn't match fixing. They fielded an ineligible player. My opinion is probably going to upset a lot of Man United fans. I don't want us to go back into the tournament because I don't think we deserve it. I feel as though I don't blame the manager per se for that game. I don't blame him. Now that I've calmed down, I did on the night. I blamed everyone. I think I even blamed the next manager who I don't know who it is. I think I blamed him. we should have won the game. The one thing I blame Amorim for is the goal. It should have been Tom Heaton in goal. I remember saying that, and I stand by that. But we missed chances. De Ligt, I don't know why he's getting in Šeško's way at the end. Šeško wins that game. Cunha should have scored the winning penalty. He didn't. I feel as though we should take the L as punishment for how embarrassing we were. Because sometimes in life you learn more through winning than you do. Sorry, you learn more through losing than you do winning. Although there is part of me that would love to be back in it, because there's always a chance you win it. I worry that it will dilute the embarrassment and pain those players should feel for being knocked out in that way. I just don't. Something about it where I just feel as though, yes, they've broke a rule. It wasn't as though that player came on and dominated the game. It wasn't as though that player came on and scored a winning goal and shouldn't have been there. Maybe that would change my mind. But that opening 30 minutes where we were getting outworked by Grimsby, I feel like even if we won the game, we should give them the bye, because it shouldn't have happened. Man United shouldn't be getting outworked and outrun by any team in the world. We should only ever be matched. It was embarrassing. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back in. I find I couldn't do it. Something about it would feel wrong. Banerjee here says, after Sir Alex Ferguson, I hated losing the most. But today I hate the culture of the club more than I hate losing. Let's back whoever changes the club's culture. The club culture actually upsets me more than losing games. Although I read I didn't read a crazy stat. I sourced the crazy stat last night because I was interested. I read something that in 16 years, Lionel Messi only lost 52 games for Barcelona. I was like, wow, that's crazy. So I decided to look. That's 16 years. I decided to look at Ryan Giggs, 22 years. 22 years as a Manchester United player. This is in the league. He only lost 87 games in 22 years. Absolutely crazy. It's an average of 3. An average of 3 losses. 3.9. An average of 3.9 losses per season. Now the club averaged a little bit more than that in that time. The club's average per season in that time was, this is going to hurt a lot of people, was 5.1. But imagine average. This is what's crazy about it. Like, imagine my whole Premier League lifetime, on average, only lost 5 league games a year. Some seasons a little bit more, sometimes a little less. We're almost averaging 5 wins at the minute. Crazy. Stick with Ruben. Sir Fuck did the same. He needs time. Sir Alex Ferguson did the same. Needs time. Look, there are parallels in that example as well that do hold some water. But I do feel that we're at a point where we've either internally, and it isn't so much sticking with Ruben. When I say sticking with Ruben, I want to specify what I mean. I feel like if we're going to go with this plan, whatever the plan is, and they shouldn't tell us everything, why would you reveal everything for the whole world to know? I think now we've either got to double down and go, we're doing it, or change. I feel like another 6 months in or another summer into whatever we're trying to build, I just think changing direction then will completely kill us. We won't get better. Not in the long term. If we win the next 2 games, who believes in the title? Well, that's the other side. Now, that's the other side of the conversation, my old pedigree chum. It's the other side of the conversation. Because this is why, look, I lost my head after the Grimsby game. I'll hold my hands up. I said I lost faith in everything. And maybe I still do. But I was emotional when I said it. And I always claim that during games, just after matches, I don't hold any football fan to the same accountability for their words as I do 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, 20 days, 100 days later. Because I don't believe any man, unless you've got problems in your life of my age, can hold the same levels of anger and frustration 24 hours, 48 hours, 7 days after a horrible event like Grimsby, especially when you win your next game in quite dramatic style and actually play quite well. I don't see how you can hold that same level of anger as we all felt after the Grimsby game. I don't understand. I just don't understand how another human being could do it. And the reason why I don't agree with it is I think if you actually sorry, let me rephrase that. The reason why I don't believe it's real anger 3 or 4 days later at the same level is if you've not calmed down. I think if someone's generally that angry for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, 7 days running, I think you'd be dead. I think your body would stop working. So you must be able to calm down. Anyway, I have lost a bit of faith. There was something, and what threw my faith was watching those players not work hard. And I thought, oh my God, not working for another manager. You know, the manager's making mistakes. Yes, the ownership have put so much time into fixing the culture. I thought our days were gone of not working hard and not putting in a gutsy performance. And I don't mind losing as long as we're working hard. And it was back, and it threw me. Let's go back to that super chat, because that super chat for me is really important. Would anyone here believe in the title? Well, the underlying numbers right now surrounding Manchester United are pretty good. The underlying numbers are pretty good and are pretty strong this season. And we're creating chances. We are getting the ball into the opponent's box. We're not even conceding too many gilt-edged chances. Ironically, the most we did concede was against Burnley. But there we go. If we're able, though, to go and get a good performance and good result at City, if we're able to stop a team like as good as Chelsea, as fantastic as Chelsea are at Old Trafford and win, if we were to win both of them, I wouldn't be talking about Premier League titles. But I would be saying maybe my frustration and loss of faith after the Grimsby game was slightly misguided. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about content creation, or at least the kind of content that my channel, The Football Terrace, makes, and I know the United Stand makes, is every season it's like a season of a TV show. In the sense of when you watch The Sopranos, go back and watch The Sopranos, and each season was generally set over the space of a year to 18 months, and it was a view into the lives of the Soprano crime family over that period of time. And content creation is a little bit like that. You don't see every minute of every day of our lives, but you see us after football matches. You see Mark during football matches. You see snippets of us, of what we're doing. And just like real life, you have up and downs. Your mind changes. Oh, I think I might have got that wrong. Oh, I think I got that bit right. I'm so happy. I'm so annoyed I got that bit correct. And if we were to win those 2 games, I think there would be some people that would say, oh, Terry, you were talking about those underlying stats and those numbers and what you were seeing with your eyes. I now see it, and we've won 3 on the bounce. And by the way, if we do win our next 2 games, there's a great chance we sit inside the top 2 or 3 in the league. Top 3 or 4 in the league. But my message would be this. All that being said, don't get carried away. And when it comes to the hard truth around Ruben Amorim, which is what we're speaking about tonight, and I love what you guys are all saying, it's very hard after a bad result sometimes to not get emotional. But as I've already said, I don't think you or I should be held to the complete accounts for what you say in the heat of the moment. Just like, I don't know how many of you have got partners, but you can have a fight. I don't believe in this notion that you say things that are completely true in a moment of anger. I always find that a bit of a cop-out, because I come from a family where we all love each other dearly. I'm talking more my brothers, mum, dad, but we have very venomous tongues. Not literally, not like poison ivy from Batman, but we will say things to each other to hurt each other, not because we really mean them. It's just how we are. We don't mean any harm. It's just how we are as people. So I reject the notion that when someone gets angry and shouts, you XXX, I don't believe they actually mean that at all times. I believe they're saying it to hurt you because they know you're sensitive. But there we go. So sometimes I'll say, I hate my football club. I don't, you know. I said to my kids before they went to bed tonight, they start school again tomorrow. I said, I'm so glad you're going back to school. Why? I said, the last 6 weeks have been hell. Has it? And now they're just learning about banter. I'm like, no, of course it hasn't. It's been lovely, other than when you've been doing my head in. And they kind of get it. But I won't not banter my children in that way because I want them to grow up with a sense of humor. And I also want them to grow up and not be overly sensitive to words because they're going to struggle in life if they're overly sensitive to words. But when it comes to football, we also say things we don't always mean in the heat of the moment. But what I do mean is that we should try our best to keep our feet on the ground, especially when we've calmed down. So let's just say we do beat City. Let's say we do beat Chelsea and we win 3 on the bounce. Let's just say we do. Try our best to not go to the opposite extreme of we're winning the league, we're back. I'm not even going to go after the people that have said Ruben shit from day one. Even though I will want to, I'm going to keep powder dry, is what I would say. Hi, Terry. Love your content. Are you saying that Amorim can only be successful playing one way? Why can't he adapt like Enrique at PSG? So again, when you say only playing one way, when you say Enrique adapted, what do you mean by he adapted? Explain what you mean by he adapted. Because I need to know what you mean. We say in formation, playing one way. No, I saw last season Ruben Amorim adapt. There was a game where Dorgu was on the left, and it wasn't quite working. So we made a change, and Garnacho came on, and the 10 was playing narrow in the first half. When Garnacho came on, the fullback who was putting the width in the first half then started inverting because I think we took off Dorgu and we brought on Delo, and Delo started inverting on the left. And Garnacho hugged the touchline. That's an adaptation. What I saw at the weekend where Shaw started moving into a midfield role when we were out of possession, waiting for the interceptions, that for me is an adaptation. So I need to know what you mean by play one way because people, and I'm not having to go at you here, Ryle, for saying this. People just say, oh, the manager can't adapt. It's a very broad statement. I'd love some specificity on it, my friend. Antonio here says, why Real Madrid players adapted to 3-4-3 and not United? Real Madrid players are better. They're better footballers. Whether we like it or not, if you actually went through that Real Madrid team now, I mean, let's do it. Let's just do it now. Real Madrid squad. Let's go through it. They're also not a broken club. They also don't have a bad culture in their dressing room. Their players are confident because they've been winning. There's multiple factors, but overall they're better. So let's just go through their squad here. Let's have a look at the squad, right? So I want you guys to, I'm going to read the comments when they come in when I mention this, but just say better or worse. Just in the live chat, just write better or worse, okay? So I'll mention their player and their positions, and you said they're better than our version. So is Thibaut Courtois better or worse than our goalkeeper? Let me know, right? Let me know. Let's keep going. I mean, their backup goalkeeper, Lamine, is he better than our goalkeeper? Let us know. So let's look at centre-backs. As a collective, how much better? Howson, Asensio, Militao, Rudiger, Alba. Are they better than our centre-backs? Let me know. Let me know. Fullbacks. They have, I mean, ironically, they've got Alvaro that should have been ours, but there we go. Fran Garcia, Mendy, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Danny Carvajal. Is that better than our fullbacks of Delo and Dorgu? Right, better, but better by how much? Let me know. Let me know. Who reckons that's worse? No, they've got better fullbacks than us as well. Let's have a look at midfield. Is their midfield of Tchouaméni, Valverde, Camavinga, Dani Ceballos, Jude Bellingham, Goulet better than Man United's? Better or worse? Let me know. Let me know. Let's go on to their attackers. Right, let's go on to their attackers. Vinny Jr., Rodrigo, Diaz, Enric, Mbappe, Garcia. Are they better than our attackers? I mean, we only actually... I mean, look, listen, how many Man United players would even get into their squad? You could argue Bruno Fernandes. Some will. I think Cunha and Mbumo could fight for a position at the club in the squad. I think they could. Ahmad could fight for a position in the squad. Who else? De Ligt. Yoro could be in their squad. Of course, Yoro could. But that's it. So when people ask the question, how could Real Madrid adapt so easily? That's why. How could Wolves adapt so easily? Well, they're not now, are they? Wolves adapted last season because they had a squad that was built for that formation and style of play. They just didn't have the right managers leading it. What's happened since is they've lost the players that enabled them to make that system work. They lost their Cunha, who was their attacking outlet. They've lost Nori. So now what's happening is the system that we were all going, hang on a minute, how have Wolves managed to win 3, 4, 5, 6 on the bounce and we can't? Well, they're going to get relegated this year because they removed the quality that made a team that had been built for years to play that way gone. And that isn't me defending Ruben Amorim. It's about looking at the reality of the situation. I believe whatever we change our formation to, if we change the formation and we become fixating on a style of play and say, we want to play this particular way, it's going to take years to fix this, we'll go backwards first. Maybe it wouldn't be as bad as we're seeing now because this squad is more suited to 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, but it would still be bad. But Terry, then why don't we just adapt? Well, there's only a handful of teams that can play pragmatic one week and attack in the next and will also win major titles. And you could probably throw Real Madrid into that mix. But again, you look at the money they spend and the quality of the squad, it'd take us years to build up the confidence and the quality of the squad to get to that point. But even then under Oli, when we were sort of played a bit more like Real Madrid with worse players, is we still went against what we were trying to build and went for commercial signings and didn't let him sell the players that he wanted. And it did bad deals and put people on too much money and damaged the culture of the dressing room. So it isn't just about how we play. It's the whole package. It's the whole package. But to answer the question, why did Real Madrid adapt easier than us? Much better team. Amorim's system was never a problem. Give him 2 good CMs and see what happens. Look, I do look at it this way as well in terms of this season and last season. If we converted more of our chances, we'd have won more games and people would be less concerned about the system and the formation. Put the ball in the back of the net more, a lot of our problems get solved. Could have, would have, should have, but we didn't. And we don't deserve to go back into the tournament, but we lost. And don't forget, Liverpool did it in 2001. No, listen, I mean, woulda, coulda, shoulda, coulda, wouldas are for me a big part of football. Big part of football conversation, the ifs, the buts, and the maybes. There's just something that would feel, if Grimsby Town were kicked out and United were put back in, it's just something about that feels off key. Something about it that would feel off key for me. Bounty Hunter here says, well, buddy, the Timo Mark Goldbridge. I suppose I am in retrospect, but everybody's Timo Werner compared to him. I know Timo is also something you order from, but it's just funny that Timo Werner was crap and so is Timo products. But Mark's the GOAT, so that's it. And do you know what it is with me? I'm very comfortable in my own skin where it doesn't bother me. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it is what it is. Thank you, Brian Ross, for becoming a member. Bounty Hunter here says, could be 10 years before we win the league. Could be. If we keep changing direction and never settle down on exactly how we want to play, how we want to operate, in the direction that we want to move in, if we don't do that, it will be forever. Evan here says, the only problem I have with Ruben is I'm not sure he has the mentality. Not watching pens and threatening to leave are kind of petty and immature. Yeah. Has he actually threatened to leave, though? Because what he has said is that he feels like leaving sometimes. And I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that. Genuinely. Sometimes I feel like quitting my job. Sometimes I've had days at home with my kids where my kids have driven me mad. You're fighting with the missus, got work. And there are times where I'm like, oh, just piss off to another country and be by myself. And there are times where that feels like a really good idea. But then you calm down, you breathe, and you go, that'd be stupid. Have you ever been driving in your car, Evan, and someone cuts you up and you think, I want to kill you? I don't think you're human if you haven't had a feeling similar to that in your life. How many times have you said, or someone you love told someone or heard someone say, I just hate you? They don't, they say it. It's human. Not watching the penalties. If we'd have won that penalty shootout, I don't like it. Let me just state, I think it's wrong. Watch them. If we'd have won the penalty shootout, would it have mattered? Would we have cared? Maybe not so much. Our underlying numbers do look good. Yes, this is from Jack. But we have nobody at the club that can convert them into numbers that matter, and that is the scoreline. Well, then, Jack, this is it, though. I remember talking, ironic that your name is Jack. I did a podcast with a journalist called Jack. I can't remember his surname. Anyway. And he was talking about Man United. This is a few years back. This would have been around 2019. So Ollie was here. And he was saying, I like how United play. They just don't score enough goals. And I said, what do you think the issue is? And he said, why? I said, well, do you think it's the players aren't good enough at converting the chances? Or do you think we don't create enough chances? And he sort of looks it up and was like, I think it's that you don't have the chance creation isn't enough. And I said, well, it's important to specify what the problem is. Because if we don't create enough, and we don't create enough because the system isn't good enough, then you change the manager, you change the coaching, add some better players. If all the underlying numbers are good, barring conversion rate, then you just buy better finishers. It's an easier and more simple solution. I remember when I was at school once, Miss Jollis was her name. Miss Jollis was my year 5 school teacher. And we had a PC in the class. It was the only computer in the school. And it's funny, really, because within like 2 or 3 years since then, every school and every room had a computer in it. But it was like this first thing. And it was I don't know, it must have been English we were doing, because there was kids writing. We used to write stories, and 2 kids. I think it was Erkan, who was a great friend of mine, and Sansida, 2 of my very, very good friends from school. I smile when I think of them because primary school was amazing. And they've been typing their story out, being taught how to use a computer. And this story will make sense, I promise you. And I remember we got to the end of the lesson. They wanted to read the stories. I don't know why I'm laughing so much. I shouldn't. We all read ours out, and it came to them. I was like, you're going to read your story out. And it was, I don't remember what the story said, but once upon a time, we went to the shops with our family. And when we got to the shops, and they stopped, Miss Jolly said, why are you stopping? And that's all we wrote. In an hour, all you wrote was like a line and a half. No, miss. We made a spelling mistake on the word after the way it said when we got to the shops. So they deleted everything, including that letter. They used the mouse and highlighted everything up into that word and deleted it all. They didn't realize that what you could do is highlight just one word or click on the screen and delete that one word, right? I always remember that. It stands out so much in my mind. It was year 5, so I would have been 10. So we are talking nearly 30 years ago. And I remember so much of that moment vividly. One, I weren't going to make that. I would have done the same thing. I didn't know how to use a computer. No, we were all poor kids that grew up in the East End of London. None of us had computers at home. But what it also taught me is sometimes in life, you don't need to delete everything to fix one thing. And that's why root cause analysis is so very, very special. It's a special skill to understand and utilize. Now, again, this was 2 children from the same background as me, underprivileged, poor, working class children in the mid-90s. None of us had computers at home. A lot of us didn't even have telephone lines in our houses. So then making that mistake is really, really fair. But it always reminds me when people say, we ain't scoring enough goals, let's just start all over again. No, you don't always need to throw baby out with the bathwater. Why are the underlying numbers good? Once you understand why the underlying numbers are good, that gives you a base to start from. Why are certain numbers like goal conversion rates and goals being scored bad? Why are we conceding so many poor goals? Well, actually, you look at it, and I think for me, I think the solution here is people better chance conversion rate. So I still think that Cunha and Mbeumo will improve their conversion rate as the season goes on. I think Šeško will put more balls in the back of the net for us than we're currently. I think you'll see our conversion rate go from 6.9% to around 14 to 16%, which is pretty good, in the Premier League. I also think that Lemaines will come in and stop us conceding so many terribly weak goals, which will then give us more confidence in attack because we're not throwing so many games away because a goalie can't catch a cross or dives the wrong way. So root cause analysis is really, really key. If, for instance, you do your root cause analysis and you believe it's the system, the style, how they're being coached, but you believe overall the players are good enough, again, you still might not have to throw baby out with the bathwater. It could just be, let's just change coaches then. If you find, like I did at the end of Ten Hag, that most of the squad's got to go and the new system needs to be implemented, that's why I've got more patience, because I feel that the overall problem was a much bigger one than just scanning back 5 lines, 6 lines and deleting one word. Big up Sanzida and Erkan. I hope you're both well and good. I know Erkan's doing very, very well. I bumped into his sister last time I was in East London. He owns a lot of businesses. He's doing very, very well. One of my best friends, Erkan, was a great guy. Her Turkish family, lovely family. Still see him around the East End every time I'm back, or every now and then anyway. When I'm back, I see him. He's got great people. This year from Veron says, what did Sir Alex Ferguson do? He changed the culture of the club, just like what Ruben is doing now by banishing the bomb squad, get the toxic culture out first. I will agree with you that element of what Man United and Ineos and Ruben did this summer, I think is fantastic. I can't fault them for any of that. I thought it was perfection. What I also love is what we've got to force Onana out now. So I think to really make that hit home. Reportedly, that man, hugely responsible for us not being in the Champions League, hugely responsible for us not being where we are as a club. 2 horrendous seasons. Had the audacity to ask for a pay rise. Now, sometimes these things seem innocent. People go, you don't ask, you don't get in life. Fair. Don't ask, you don't get. Man United, with any progression we've made culturally as a club in the last 18 months, disappears, evaporates, disapparates, absolutely poof, is gone. If you reward somebody like Onana with a new deal, with an increase in pay as well. The only new deal he should get is a contract change and a reduction further in salary. So I am glad that we haven't done that. I hope that we move him on. No personal animosity towards Onana. Nice enough guy. I've read a lot of things. He's a really not really top bloke, a really good guy, and that's fair. I have no personal issue with him. I'll never be nasty about him as a person. On a professional level, he's an absolute waste of space, and he'll hurt us more. He'll really, really hurt us more. He's not been a decent goalie that's won us loads of trophies, won us league titles, and you're thinking, we do need a slight upgrade on him, but thank you for everything you've given us. This man has really hurt us as a football club. This here from Alex says, Sir Alex Ferguson had tactics foul, but he had talented players to pick up the slack and grind out results. We have no game changers. It took Sir Alex the better part of a decade to build a resilient team. So it took from 1985, 1986, I was basically born then, until, I say best part of a decade, maybe that's a slight stretch. It took the better part of 5 to 7 years to build a team that had the resilience to fail in a game, lose a big game, have a bad run of form, and snap out of it. It's the issue with the goalkeepers. And one of the reasons why I wanted Emi Martinez more than Lemaines, but Lemaines could do it, is Emi Martinez can make mistakes, but I don't think it turns into a pandemic. Top teams can lose a game. It doesn't turn into an epidemic. At Man United, we don't have the mentality for it. This is where the fans, this is where we play a part in this. And I'm as guilty as anybody, so I'm not pointing fingers, is when we lose our minds, it just adds more fuel to the fire. I think nobody can cope with it. And it becomes a little bit of a knock-on effect. There is a little bit of an element of everybody starts to panic. Have you ever played golf? I've only played a couple of times. take a shot and start thinking. If you can see a bunker or you can see water, think about the bunker, think about the bunker, think about the water. Don't go in the water, don't go in the water, don't go in the water. Bang. Do you know what? You go in the water. Our fan base online, in the ground, our club on the pitch, in the training ground, we behave that way. So you may think me tweeting can't impact the game, Terry. The players aren't reading the tweets during the game. They've read them before, though. They're in their mind. How many of us have said on camera in the comment sections on Twitter? How many of us have said, how many times we'll go back to what we said in a minute. How many times have we gone down to 10 men in the last couple of years and felt like we've conceded within 30 seconds? That's an exaggeration, but felt like we've conceded very quickly. I feel like it's happened a lot, right? Well, we all then tweet about it. We all talk about it. The media talks about it. People like me go on camera and rant about it. That gets into the dressing room. Then when we go down to 10 men, you're telling me there isn't an anxiety that comes over the crowd? Oh, no, we know what happens now. That anxiety, the players hear it. They're consciously or subconsciously thinking about it because they've read our tweets. They read their tweets. They know who we are. Not individually know me, but they know who we are as a collective. They know what's going on. Oh, no. Everyone's going to be panicking now. I'm panicking now because everybody starts thinking about hitting the ball into the water. Everybody's thinking about the bunker. I have a theory. I'd love to test it, but I can't do it by myself. I can't play. This is something I can't play by myself. I don't mind having a little play by myself, but I can't play this game by myself. I would love to set a task for Man United fans. By the way, I don't have the influence, power, or ability to do this, but it's an ask, I suppose. And I'm asking every Man United influencer and content creator in the world to join me. How about after every goal we concede, every mistake a player makes, every game we lose, every issue that we have, how about we just stay positive and encourage the team for 6 months? Theory. How about we as fans put zero negativity or minimize it to very small amounts on social media, in the ground, rants afterwards, moans afterwards, fan cams afterwards, my match reactions. How about we all just it wasn't great today. I'm very disappointed with that, but I believe in you, Lemons. I believe in you, Shesko. Come on, Ruben. We've got your back. How about we do it? Someone here says unheard of. No, I hear you, right? Marv says, Terry, that is the same thing as toxic positivity. No, it isn't. Toxic positivity is I'm going to be nasty to people that are not being positive. That's the toxic part. It's a theory. I want to test the theory that if we're more positive, if we're more understanding, if we're more encouraging, we're not being toxic positives, which is I'm going to be nasty to people that are not being nice. You know who those kind of people are? I'm the nicest person in the world. I love everybody. I'm tolerant of everything and everybody. You eat meat. You bastard! You're not tolerant, are you then? You're not nice to everyone. You're nice to people that do things that you do and like the things that you like. That's not a nice person. That's what a toxic positivity person is and it's not trust the process either. See, this is what you're not getting. It's about holding back publicly your anger. Go into a room afterwards and shout. And there's only a theory here, and play along with me. Stop getting so annoyed about it, right? If we just be encouraging. Sesko, it's a bad miss, mate, but you'll get it next time. Come on. I would love to see where we are in 6 months if we behave that way. I'd love it. I wish I had a magic wand and we could do like a sliding doors moment. Continue as we are as a fan base, or let's just become really encouraging and really egg the guys on. I'd love to see if there was a difference where those two different scenarios take. Now, listen, Standard FC will say, no, you've got to hold the club to account. Listen, Man United have got the biggest collective fan channels in the world. We've been holding these guys to account for 13 years and we've only gone backwards. What we might find is that we could encourage them and be angry at them in two different worlds and both just keep going down. Then we realize, well, we know it has no influence. So therefore, there's no point me getting angry at someone who's being too toxic. There's no point someone that's being really toxic being annoyed at me for being too positive. I want to test the theory. Rosa here says, no, that's not right. They're not kids. No, I understand it, but it's a theory I want to test. I want to test. And like I said, I'm not saying don't say that was bad. I'm just pointing out, if we were to be 80% encouraging and 20% angry, rather than 80% angry and 20% encouraging, I'd love to test the theory as to be, could we be in a better position? I'd just love to test the theory. That's all. This here says, my friend ChatGTB told me United fix effects and not causes, treating symptoms, not the disease. Until root cause issues are solved, nothing changes. You don't need ChatGTP for that. Just Google root cause analysis. There's an amazing content creator who doesn't make much content anymore. His name's Neeks from Neek Sports. Amazing guy. We did a show maybe 5-6 years ago having these very same conversations. And he was just shutting people down that were like, Ollie's a problem and Jose's the problem and this person. And he was saying, listen, man, all you guys are doing is taking pain, taking headache, taking paracetamol to fix a brain tumor. And yes, it's a very, some people, it's a very graphic and brutal analogy, but there's a truth to it. Man United for years have been taking painkillers to get rid of brain tumors. Yes, the headache might go for an hour or two or a day or two, but it's going to come back and it's going to keep getting worse. And we've done that. So it's a very good point you made there. Shout out to the community from Abu Dhabi. Big up yourself, Ryan, and big up everyone in Abu Dhabi. I'm starting to get the feeling that Ruben might just be another Andre Villas-Boas. Thoughts? It could be. Listen, it could be. He could be. And, you know, a lot of the ex-Man United managers haven't done particularly well since leaving us either. But that still doesn't make it right that they were the problem. They are part of the problem. And maybe them not being good enough coaches exasperated the issues further. But we still haven't done enough root cause analysis at this football club. And that is what I hope we're doing. And that is why I hope that we've got worse before getting better. Because typically in life, things often have to go backwards before they go forwards. So I hope it's true. 28 attempts conceded, the lowest good days are coming. Yeah, United have also conceded, I believe, the least amount of chances as well so far this season. The next two games that could change, though. We're playing two very good teams in City and in Chelsea. At least you didn't put Tipex on the screen. No one did that, Lee. No one did that, to be fair. I hope you're well, Lee. I haven't seen you in a while, actually, Lee. Even on the terrace. You were very active earlier in the summer. I ain't seen you for a while, bro. Yeah. Interesting takes tonight. Very, very interesting takes and opinions on this situation. Good to see you, Terry. We have let, what does it say? We have let, where's that gone? It moved on my screen. There's so many comments. Oh, no. Here we go. We have let we have let the manager build the team. Too much dead wood in the team for years' time to reset. It's going to be painful, but we will eventually come good. Back him, is what Andrew says. So again, there's credibility in that too. Emily here says the best root cause analysis looks at all angles and acknowledges the good and the bad, but we need to be angry at the right people for the right things. Absolutely right. This is a completely multifaceted issue, and there's basic examples of root cause analysis, and the one that I was taught was there's a building in America, like a monument building, and the brickwork was starting to like crumble and fade, and it's a very important building. And the root cause analysis was, well, let's work out why it's crumbling and fading. And essentially, it was always about asking the 5 whys. Just keep asking the word why. As long as you're getting honest answers back, within 5 questions, you'll get to the root cause problem. That's the theory. So essentially, they found out, well, why is the brickwork crumbling? Well, it's crumbling because of the chemicals that we're using to clean it. Well, change the chemicals. Well, we can't quite change. Why are we using those? We can't, because we need those chemicals. Why do we need those chemicals? Because it's the only chemical that we have found that gets rid of all the bird droppings that are on the building. Or why are there so many bird droppings on the building? Why are they here? Well, there's loads of bird droppings here because why can't we just put up like spikes to stop the birds? Well, we can't. Most of those things are illegal in this state, and also it's an eyesore, and it actually ruins what the monument looks like because you've now got all these spikes all over this building that people come to look at. Well, why are all the birds here? Well, the birds are here because there's an insect that comes here every night that's still around in the morning. So the birds arrive in the morning for their breakfast because these insects fluctuate around this building. Well, why are the insects around the building? And they did the research into it, and it's because of the color of the lights that they lit the building up with at night attracted the insects. So then what they did is they changed the color of the lighting to a color that didn't attract the insects. That stopped the birds from coming, which stopped the birds from pooing on the building, which means they didn't need to use these chemicals on the building anymore, which stopped the building from decaying. And that's an example of how it works. So yes, you're right, Emily. You have to look at multiple angles, but it's a case of you have to be honest about it. So when people say, like for years as well, people are like, the manager's got to go. And I'm like, well, Woodward's the problem. Well, why? Well, look, yes. Why are we losing games? Not scoring enough goals. Why are we not scoring enough goals? You're not creating enough. Why are we not creating enough? Because the manager isn't doing this. Well, why is the manager doing that every week? We've got to sack him. Well, yeah, great. But who hired the manager? Who's letting the manager manage like this? Like, we only ever go to a certain level as Man United fans, and we always go for what the media tells us, player or manager, where I actually think the problems at our club sit a hell of a lot deeper than just managers and just players. And until we get them addressed and we're running things right behind the scenes, we are always going to fail. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. And I feel like it always has been. That sounds like the Chrysler building. It wasn't the Chrysler building. It was a much smaller building, but yeah, there we go. Terry, big up. I think the hardest part about yours as is the fans is they have followed United since the glory days and how far they have fallen. Yeah, look, I feel like it doesn't the era that you were born into will impact kind of how you feel about the club right now. People that have been through relegation are going to maybe be a little bit more patient than people that were born in the 90s and have only ever seen success. I do remember bad times and struggles in the 80s and in the early 90s. So I'm maybe a little more patient because of that. But I look at it more through this lens. It doesn't matter about your history per se. We spend as much as all the other big teams in the world on wages and on transfer fees. And whilst we're still doing that, I expect us to deliver like them. I know we can't deliver like them in the short term. We've got to build to it. But if we're just going to deliver mid-table and occasional Champions League positions and occasional cups, that for me is what clubs spending on average £200 or £300 million a year less on wages and transfer fees should be doing. When you're spending like the big boys, I expect us to deliver like them. The same as if Brighton suddenly got a new owner and started spending the same money on salary and the same money on transfers as PSG and Man City, I'd expect Brighton to challenge for those things as well. So it's all about what you're spending for me rather than just your history. But I do hear you a lot. Look, I want to thank everybody that's tuned into the show. It means the world to me that so many of you tune in, especially during the international break where there's not a lot going on. Thank you for all your contributions today as well. It means a great, great deal to me here. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.